Darkpress presents Speak of the Devil, a laid-back magical chat with Adam and Darian Darkly.
Greetings, Darklings. I'm Adam.
And I'm Darian. Tonight we're discussing one of our favorite topics, cryptids. Of course, everyone's familiar with Bigfoot, the Yeti, the Loch Ness Monster. We always, seems like, lived in places where there were Bigfoot sightings. I grew up in East Texas, and we moved back to East Texas for a while. We lived in Alabama and now in Missouri.
Yeah.
The name Sasquatch means wild man or wild men. According to the Britannica site, the British explorer David Thompson is sometimes credited with the first discovery of a set of Sasquatch footprints in 1811. And Sasquatch seems to be related to the abominable snowman or the Yeti in the Himalayas.
I think it's really interesting that they're all like all these man-ape and like humanoid, like reptilian creatures. And one of the ones that really interests me is like that is in Asia. They have a lot of ape man beasts that are said to like take people and kill people and do all and like take and like steal, I guess, from people and do all kinds of different stuff. But people they've had tons of archaeologists and researchers and people do research and everything around them, but they haven't really like discovered or captured one or.
Yeah, it's always fascinated me. Ever since I was a little kid, I've just loved cryptids, and they actually like can even bleed over into like the realm of urban legend, like. A cryptid, but also an urban legend would be like the Mothman sightings.
Like they have like a folklore, like in locality, like where they're in locale from where they originate. It kind of grows and spreads out and takes on like a whole other form.
Mm-hmm. It's almost like more modern mythology, I guess, in a sense. And the Loch Ness Monster has always been one of my favorite cryptids too. And I have a story, and now we do not consider ourselves in any way experts on cryptozoology, but we just wanted to talk about it because it's something that we find fascinating. Aleister Crowley's infamous unfinished Leviathan ritual at his house on the banks of Loch Ness has been credited by some occultists as being the origin story of the Loch Ness Monster, which I think is so fascinating because Leviathan is described in biblical texts in the book of Job as being this giant sea monster that lives in the depths of the sea, and Leviathan is also a demonic power that can be called on by sorcerers. And Aleister Crowley was in a months-long ritual calling up the spirit Leviathan when he was called away on an emergency and was never able to complete the ritual. And ironically, it was soon after that the sightings of Old Nessie began in the area of Loch Ness. And I always thought that was really interesting, almost like he opened the gate and let Leviathan through or something.
Yeah, and I would say some of my other cryptids that are really interesting. I know, like in the Appalachians, like where I grew up, we have like the Wampus cat, who is basically like a half cat, half man person, like a cat humanoid that steals the husbands of women and will take kids and is known to do all kinds of really wild stuff. And in the same areas like that, the Sasquatch is known as the woolly booger, which is always like just like a really funny name for. I can just imagine like these like old hillbillies are like, oh, there's that woolly booger again, and they're gonna get you, and like just but like people legitimately, like grown men being terrified to like go in the woods at night or to like stay away from the edge of certain woods and stuff because there were tales.
If I met the woolly bugger, I'd have to be like, man, I can't take you serious with a name like that.
Right.
Yeah, it's awesome the idea of cryptids, like there being creatures that we don't quite understand yet. I think that's what fuels the fascination for most of us, is just the wonder behind things like that. Like, wow, there could be all these things that we don't know about the world yet. And I mean, science is constantly discovering new species and things, so I
Yeah.
really don't think it's that far-fetched to think that some of these things are out there, that they really do exist. And it's like once they are discovered like full on, then all of a sudden it will be scientific. So I don't think that it's outside the realm of possibility, and I love to imagine it and think about
Oh yeah.
about it.
One, I think between the magical experiences and creatures that we've come across together and individually over the years, more proves that there is far more out there, and like the Fae and other creatures of mythos, of mythology, I believe they exist in a number of ways, like physically and in other realms, and kind of they share like different ways that they potentially manifest and stuff like that. And I think, like we always will talk about cryptids, like, okay, well, why don't people see them more, or why would they be hidden? And because of zealot Christians and people that want to burn every witch or would be devil worshiper, and people that would seek to nowadays commodify like creatures like that and somehow turn them into some like kind of sideshow, and probably just their experiences in modern and ancient times with humans is one of many reasons why you're not just seeing like Sasquatch like walk like at the market like shopping and stuff, which would be really funny too. But
Speaking of the exploitation of cryptids, you want to like take a trip to some of those famous sites sometime?
yeah, that would be cool.
It would be. We actually we actually have in Missouri a Bigfoot theme park, and like
that would be
like everything is themed around Bigfoot. Well, if we actually do this, we will like film it
We should get
for
like
you.
Bigfoot, like rent Bigfoot
Oh God,
costumes for the day or something.
it'd be great. Wear t-shirts, Bigfoot t-shirts over our costumes.
Some of the questions that I had in mind were like what do I believe about cryptids? And I believe we talked about them just a moment ago, like how I believe they exist, and I certainly do believe they're real. And another question that I had off the top of my head is like, why are they here? And I feel like they're here because they're just kind of part of reality, like we are, and they probably do play some kind of role, like spirits and angels and devils have sort of their cosmic job. Um, and then it's always interesting like how cryptids and paranormal creatures like cryptids manage to inspire us like in pop culture and in music and beyond. And then one other thing that's interesting to kind of ponder is like, why do they scare us? And I think it's because like the Fae and creatures of mythology, there's just something about kind of not knowing the full story about something, or not having like the full picture, and the fact that a lot of them are really elusive, and they
Yeah,
just
the
kind of,
unknown.
yeah, and like they just kind of happen to show themselves to some people or whatever, like a witch, or like a random hiker ends up walking across a Sasquatch and getting a photo or two.
Well, I'm here to assure you that witches exist.
I believe you.
Unfortunately, cryptozoology falls into the realm of pseudoscience and has been co-opted by young Earth creationists, flat earthers, and conspiracy buffs. But I believe it deserves more serious consideration. It's just like the realm of the occult. I believe it was it was Tesla that said that when science actually begins to examine the spiritual realm, that science will grow by leaps and bounds. I'm totally paraphrasing that,
Yeah.
but it was something along those lines that he said. And I think the same is true with those things that are unknown in the world. I really get sick of things being discredited just because, like, they just chalk it up to some
Yeah.
mass psychosis or something.
Yeah, mass
There are
hysteria or something.
yeah, and there are a lot of highly intelligent people that have had
Yeah.
these sightings, just like UFO sightings, which we'll talk about at another time because that's something I love too. I really want to go to Roswell and
That would
go
be so cool.
and like
Do like a
experience the
whole
whole
trip.
UFO thing. Yeah, that'd be a blast.
I always hate how they're all lumped into like, oh, cryptozoology, cryptids, cryptozoology, and it's like, well, they're clearly like far more. Like you're getting into the spirit, God, like you're getting into like a whole other realm. It's not just like cryptozoology, like cryptids. Like no, they're literally creatures that have clearly been here longer than probably we were, or have been around. I mean, even like creatures like dragons, how it's like, oh, they were just like a big snake, or oh, it was a dinosaur. And it's
Or a
like
hippopotamus.
there's enough like all over the world, like with like Saint Martha, and I believe it was in Caracas where she tames the dragon with ribbons, and it's like in religion and mythology, there's all these tales of like I was saying dragons, but also like like Sasquatch, Yeti creatures, and giants and
Yeah, and
centaurs.
it's like everybody throughout history who had these experiences was not stupid or insane.
But they usually end up disappearing once they make it known.
Yeah.
We were told for how long that there was absolutely zero proof of the existence of UFOs, only to have the U.S. government in recent years begin declassifying all kinds of evidence. I believe time will tell, and the truth is always out there. I couldn't resist an X-Files reference. But yeah, I have seen recently, in the past couple of years, they keep declassifying all these UFO sightings and reports that came up, even though they usually like blank out the text and stuff where it's probably like talking much deeper about cryptids and UFOs and stuff. But
Yeah, and I think we could go way deeper if we ask the question, why don't they want us to know?
yeah,
But that would probably be a topic for another time.
that's all the time we have for this show. But join us next week when we'll be answering some of your questions about our new line of conjure boxes called the Devil's Dozen. Don't miss
Miss
it.
it.